Good morning, video games. Welcome to Filthy Casuals, a podcast about video games hosted by two very kind and extremely knowledgeable boys. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Tommy Daslow, and with me, as always...
Tommy, I've got something to confess.
Oh.
I've got a foot fetish. In that... I played the game Angerfoot.
Angerfoot.
And my name's Ben Vanel.
Oh, yes. Okay, great. That's, I mean, the name isn't really a confession.
No.
I sort of knew that.
No. It's kind of like the AA thing where you stand up and you're like, hi, my name's Ben, and I played Angerfoot.
Yeah, well, you were doing a version of that game, Two Truths and a Lie, but you were just basically doing two truths.
Yeah, I love that version of the game. Yeah. It's so fun.
We're basically doing a live show here. We've got my dog sort of sitting here kind of like watching us, just like behind where the camera is.
Yep.
Sort of, just chewing on his own foot at the moment.
Yeah.
But, he's excited. Oh. First time we've recorded at my house for a little while.
Yeah. He was very pumped to see me. Yeah. Very, very, very excited. Got a lot of fucking energy pumping through him.
Yeah, well, he's been, I don't know if I've told you this, he's been going to his food bowl every night and picking out little bits of kibble and spelling out "Where's Ben" on the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
Did I not tell you that?
I don't think that came up.
Yeah, it's really weird that I didn't relay that.
Yeah, I would have loved to know that.
You would think that'd be the first thing that I'd do.
Yeah. But, hey, it's good to know now.
Yes. A lot of feedback from last week's episode. You know, as is the sort of the vibe of the moment.
Yep.
You talk about AI, and boy, you get a lot of people weighing in.
Yes.
It's the current topic that it is impossible to hear any thoughts on without throwing your own hat into the ring.
Yeah, totally.
And, all sorts of feedback, and of course, thank you to everyone who interacts with the show, corresponds with us. All sorts of feedback from what we were talking about last week with the use of generative AI in games and companies trying to sort of sweep it under the rug and ending up getting busted for it, as was the case with the alters. All sorts of correspondence from we use it for transcribing notes at my work to people that work in creative industries saying that they love using AI because it means that they don't have to pay an actual creative other person to come in and do that work. And I just think it's really cute that those people think that the same thing is never going to happen to them.
Yes.
You know, I think it's cute. Yeah. I think it's cute that people have that assumption.
Yeah. I mean...
I love hearing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a bit of feedback of you guys sound like Statler and Waldorf. Like you basically are two old bastards. Being like, now this telephone, I don't think it's going to catch on. I want to talk to people face to face. But
I like it when, and this happens in real life a lot, someone will say to me, oh, you're a comedian, you must be worried about AI taking your job. And then they're like, yeah, anyway, I work in advertising and we use it to just like get all our music made. And I'm like, I'd like to see AI come up with a joke about how the movies Saw and Thor sound kind of similar.
Yeah, they filtered out that kind of stupidity. They're like, that's illogical. We can't formulate that.
Yeah, which is what makes it such high quality comedy.
That's right. I'd like to see AI formulate a joke about how someone working advertising using AI for minor tasks will soon be completely out of a job because advertising doesn't actually need any human creativity at all.
I mean, AI could never make an ad of a car just driving around with a Kingswood song playing in the background.
I mean, there's already ridiculous ads, like all of the NAB ads, like the NAB business ones where they're all fucking stupidly animated and shit. That
What's
look
that
AI.
one? Is it I always see people posting about this and it kind of makes me feel really good because it's one of those ones where people are like, I want to fucking kill myself. I've heard this ad so many times.
Oh, yeah.
And it really reflects to me that I just do not watch free-to-air TV.
Oh, sure.
What's the Telstra one that's got the song in it or the guy whistling or whatever the tune is? And people are like, I can hear this. You can hear this image. And I'm like, I literally have never seen this in my life.
Yeah.
Is it on a bunch during the footy?
Yes,
I guess?
I was going to say. Because that's the only time I watch broadcast TV and it is on during the footy.
Right.
Same with the NAB ones. I mean... it's interesting. We talked. I can't remember if it was on the. It probably was on the regular show because we were talking about AI.
Yeah.
Of doing a special zone about every time a big piece of technology is introduced to society, and everyone freaks the fuck out.
Yeah.
And because I want to do that, and I've been doing some research, and it is funny. one of the things that came up is like, well, the Industrial Revolution happened. So factories are created, machine sort of production. And like a lot of the commentary now is like, well, it enabled us to, produce lots of goods for people. Sure. And people were more able to access things like clothing on a regular basis rather than like having to darn their socks, and like, patch their fucking elbows when the jackets, get worn through. But then it's also like footnote, it basically introduced the idea of like child factory slavery.
Right.
So many crafts people out of jobs, and it's like, yeah, it is interesting to look at when things, leap forwards.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, people go like, oh, but people thought that about this and this and this, and we just use them all the time now. It's like, it doesn't mean that was a good thing.
Right, yeah,
it made things easier for some people.
Yes, but what about,
it made it easier for CEOs to fuck it. Just all it means really is that like the people at the top are able to spend like less and less. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you're someone like going into an office every day, like toiling away, and you're like, we've got to learn how to use it. And it's like, there is an element of truth to that. But yeah, if you think that you're not going to end up getting like massively fucked over of it, or there's the potential of it for you to get fucked over at some point, then that's kind of absurd. I understand going like, hey, you know what? Someone who's like kind of mucking around with it to try and come to grips with it, to sort of be able to like use it effectively. That I understand, because it's like, okay, well, if it's here one way or the other, but it's people who are like, we need to stop fucking worrying, it's here to stay. It's like,
we can keep worrying. It is here to stay.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, like I think you sent this to me, yesterday maybe, the sort of comparison of like, Microsoft lays off 9,000 people across many different departments, not just gaming, obviously, but then, they're pouring millions of dollars into, what is it? Language.
Labubu?
They're investing heavily in Labubu, and that is a bubble that's going to pop. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Whatever they're called, LLMs.
Sure.
Learning language models or whatever it is. Machine learning stuff, which, is like not what we want to see happening. Yeah. Personally.
Well, so we were talking last week as well about a lot of Microsoft layoffs.
Yes.
And a bunch had happened when we recorded, but right after we recorded, there was the announcement that they have closed down. Is it called The Initiative, the studio that was working on the Perfect Dark reboot?
Yes.
And cancelled that game.
Yep.
They've also cancelled Rareware's Everwild game that they had been working on for a long time. They'd showed like these really vague sort of pre-rendered trailers. There wasn't really any idea of what the game actually was yet.
No.
But it had been on the boil for a long time, and maybe not as a result of, but sort of simultaneously, I believe Greg Mayles is his name. He's he was the director of Banjo-Kazooie, so he's been with the company going all the way back to then. He's now left the studio, so I think there's like barely anyone left there who was there when they were a Nintendo second party. Really sad stuff. And I mean, that Perfect Dark game, I remember we talked about it when they revealed that trailer.
Yep.
Where it's kind of it looks like it's in game, like it's in the first person perspective, and just everything that's happening in it is like, I don't believe that this is real gameplay for a second. There's no way the game will look like this. And they quite stupidly at the time were referring to it as a quadruple A game, which is just fucking ridiculous.
Well, yeah, especially because as it turns out, people like Jason Schreier and others, sort of after the game was cancelled, this is like a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, were like, I pretty much got told by people on the inside that was like a pre-rendered cutscene.
Yeah.
Like it was not gameplay.
Yeah.
The game was 10% done. Like it was really, they'd been struggling over it for a long time. And so this is one of those things where like, it's probably better to shut down development of a game that is genuinely stuck in development hell. Yeah. And the people who are working on it can't figure out how to make it. Maybe they don't have the funding, maybe whatever. But like this is disappointing for fans of Perfect Dark like yourself.
Yeah, I wonder... I mean, I didn't really have high hopes for it, and it's funny because I don't really know how... It always seemed like a weird one to me because I don't know how many people there were who were like die-hard fans of Perfect Dark.
Right.
Like, I liked I was actually playing a bit of the 64 one the other day on the Switch Online, and it, because when it came out, it was like it was sort of the pseudo sequel, the spiritual sequel to GoldenEye.
Yeah,
They didn't have the GoldenEye license anymore, but it was like same team. It was like very widely promoted as like, hey, this is basically GoldenEye 2, or GoldenEye 008 or whatever you want to call it.
Spiritual successor.
Yeah. They, same, but with them able to like do whatever they wanted with the setting and everything.
Right.
But I don't really have any, I don't have any like attachment to like the franchise or the character.
Right.
Like I don't really remember any of the big, touchstones from it. I thought that trailer looked cool, but as we were saying, clearly not anything that was representative of actual gameplay. But yeah, I mean, it feels like I would love to sort of see the timeline of how this goes from obviously having a lot of money injected into it to begin with, because even if that is a pre-rendered cutscene trailer, like that would have cost money to produce that.
Yeah.
Clearly Microsoft were betting very big on it. But also the fact that it was like this franchise that wasn't even being worked on by the people who like originally made the game always seemed weird. Like when they are a studio that Microsoft also owns, so that kind of didn't make a lot of sense there. Yeah, I don't know. I just think like it must be tough to be someone who's like really into Xbox, like someone who was like got really into Halo back in the day and has kind of like ridden along with them on all the consoles. And like, this is the tough thing about video games is that like we all have like the companies that we love, and you kind of align yourself with a platform that you resonate with the output more than any of the others. And they kind of all, at some stage or another, invariably let you down.
Yes, of course.
In business decisions, I think, like perhaps not always creatively. Like I would say, for the most part, Sony is a good example where their first party output is like so strong.
Yep.
But then they have these like business decisions where they go like, hey, heads up guys, we're not really going to be releasing any first party games this year. And you're like, what?
Yeah, or pouring 8 years of development money and time into a multiplayer first-person shooter that they give 2 weeks to gain an audience, and then cancel, like remove from stores, delete, wipe it from the face of the existence.
And I think like it's kind of obviously like there has to be an intersection of like corporations and art. Like that's sort of a given at this point. But it's weird with gaming because it is like the actual experience of sitting down and playing this thing is like it's fun. It's pure escapism.
Yep.
And to have this thing where what I always find so weird about Microsoft is like these fucking specific guys, these CEOs who they put like front and center of all this stuff. Yeah. Who give these sound bites about like, as gamers, we, this idea that like they're one of us, like that they're just as excited as you or they're just as disappointed as you. But then they do this thing where they lay off these studios and it's not like, it's not like they're massively in the red. It's not like they need to close this studio, otherwise the whole company will go under. Yeah. It's just that they want to make more money than they made the year before. Like the idea of making this same amount of money year to year is the same as going backwards. And so in an industry like gaming where development takes a long time and development costs a lot, it's so hard to have that balance. Like it's impossible to have that balance.
Yeah. And I feel like, you have to have an idea in your head of what people actually come to you for and what will keep them coming back. And I think that in the past 8 years, since Game Pass launched, the Xbox, the Microsoft sort of perspective is we're not sure that we can guarantee people will keep coming back to us for Halo or Gears or Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yep.
We recognize that maybe we're behind the 8 ball in terms of what developers we have under our umbrella and what games that they are going to make to entice people to be an Xbox person.
Yep.
Like clearly that's why they acquired so many developers.
Yep.
But in the meantime, I guess their perspective was, Our point of difference is we're going to allow people to play games anywhere for as an affordable a price point as possible. And that's our identity.
Yeah.
And that was what they spruiked. It was really like you can play games anywhere. The talking point that Phil Spencer often brought up was something like, we want gaming to be as accessible and available to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
In so many words. We want anyone to be able to play games. We don't want you limited by buying a $900 console or a $3,000 PC. If you've got a smart TV with an app, you can play an Xbox game. If you've got a tablet, you can play xCloud on that.
Yep.
And it's a big bet. Like, they seem to go pretty heavily into it.
Yeah.
They also, at the same time, acquired Activision Blizzard and Bethesda and 17 other developers that they've now shuttered.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was this kind of very large-scale strategy of, like, just get people to think of games like shows on Netflix.
Right.
And they don't need to own those games. They just need to be able to access them for a cheaper price point than anywhere else.
Yep.
And eventually we'll start dropping games that are impossible to ignore and we'll be number one.
Yeah.
And the first part hasn't really shifted the needle. Like, Game Pass, apparently it is profitable, although they did announce, like, because they kind of responded to this report that it wasn't profitable. Mm-hmm. And they were like, no, it is. Even if you consider the sales lost to sales through other platforms, but we don't consider the development budget in terms of the profit, which seems like that's like you look at movies and stuff, and I don't know if it's a fair comparison. Like, when you look at the profit, you go, how much was the budget and how much was the box office?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. But, yeah, they've made this big gamble.
It's funny because, like when there was a period where I was using Game Pass a fair bit.
Yeah, me too.
We all were.
Me too, yeah, for sure.
But the problem with having that as your, like, hook is that you've got to be consistently putting things on there, and not just chucking anything on there. I mean, yeah, Netflix is the comparison. Like, that's clearly what they're going for. And Netflix doesn't just chuck Austin Powers on. They are also spending money on stuff that you can't get anywhere else.
Absolutely.
And, sometimes to their detriment, like, or not detriment, but, frustratingly, things like they'll split up a season of a show to keep you on the hook. But it's like, that's just what you have to do. Like, there has to be a constant trickle of stuff that you can't get anywhere else. And I think, both of us ended up opting out of Game Pass because too long went past where it was like it's the only stuff that's really showing up on here that I'm interested in is indie stuff that I may as well just buy and own.
Well, that's
on
the
Steam
thing, right?
Because it's cheaper than just having this for 4 months and not
having it for years, right? If that's the other thing, and I think this was maybe something that we didn't maybe foresee, although Knox was always big on, like, the actual ownership of games.
Yep.
That, like, literally in the past month, there's been this incredible, like, surge of sentiment around actually owning the games you pay for.
Yep.
Like, I think it came around, I think, partially because of the Switch 2 and the game cards and, like, getting a license for Mario Kart World in the bundle rather than a physical one. Like, all of these things started to, like, pile up into this big sort of, like, what's the word? Like, critical mass of...
Sure.
Oh, actually, we really do want to own the things we pay for.
Yeah.
And in the past, it was always the concern that you'd pay for a game and then maybe the online stuff would be taken off servers.
Yep.
Or if it is a purely online game, it will just be taken off out of existence.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is another example of Nintendo are the ones to make the move that ends up being the critical mass.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
As you say, some version of this, we were talking about this last week, I bought Red Dead on the PS4.
Right.
And that CD that you put in was just downloading, like, most of the game.
Yeah.
Like this, it just getting to a point where people are like, you go to the library and you get the book. You don't own the book, but you also don't pay. You're not paying anything for the book. That's the whole, like, incentive of the library is, like, it makes books accessible for people.
Yes.
And it's easy to kind of think like, oh, I pay this. I'm not paying for the games on Game Pass, but you're paying the subscription, so you are paying something like Game Pass. I think people give the pass to, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy to pay like even just buying something on an eShop, like $80 onto, then it's linked to your account. And sure, if you throw your Switch into a river tomorrow, you can go get a new one and have it, log into your account and re-download all that stuff. But if something happens to that eShop, if the eShop gets taken offline for whatever reason, if they shift everything over, you have no way of transferring it across. You have no
And I think, I don't want to sound hypocritical because I've always been pretty much the convenience of an eShop to me outweighs the drawbacks.
Yes.
And having to store physical games is something I don't like to do.
I do think, as much as people are sort of up in arms about this at the moment, I think the thing to remember is that we asked for this.
Yeah.
People got sick of having, when the iTunes stuff came along and then Netflix, a lot of people were getting the American one before you could get it here. And it was oh, how good's this? I can just have everything. That was always the convenience of downloading stuff illegally. You just have everything sitting on a hard drive.
Right.
People had these big cumbersome shelves full of DVDs, and it was attractive to just be this is actually so nice. You don't have to get up and change the disc over. And so now that it's just that's where everything's gone in the direction of, it's we did want this.
Yeah.
We did sort of demand this.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of the more salient point because yes, games that you bought through an eShop 20 years ago may not be accessible to you anymore.
Yep.
That's a shame. And if you really want to preserve old games, then you can't do it in a legitimate way aside from buying physical copies.
Yep.
I'm not personally so concerned about that aspect of it, of always having access to every single game you ever bought in some digital format. The issue is more it's more about the access for new games and sort of the eventual value proposition. So by the end of my time using Game Pass, it was just indie games that I was checking out.
Yep.
Now those games were by and large also available on other platforms, and you could buy them for $20, $10, $15, and then it's in that library. Mm-hmm. That library may not exist forever, but it will exist for a lot longer than the month that I'm still on Game Pass.
Even just the permanence of buying something on Steam and then getting a Steam Deck and you turn it on and everything's just there in your library, ready for you to hit play on. It's funny because I also do think with Game Pass, and obviously, we're in a different position because this is our job, so it's a lot easier for us to justify, spending the money on a new game than it is for, the average person.
Yes.
Who has to weigh it up as a leisure expense or whatever. Yep. There's something about playing something on Game Pass that you are, I feel mentally when you download something, you're treating it as I'm getting this for free, or I'm getting this included. Mm-hmm. I already paid this subscription. This game's shown up on here. I may as well. And it's the theory of when you put on live shows, you want to make it cost effective, but there's kind of a mental thing that happens to people where, using the Comedy Festival an example, you hear people all the time, if something's too cheap, people assume, it must not be good.
Yeah.
Or if something's if you get given something for free, you just go into it with a much different mindset than you do if you've outlaid a lot of money for it. And
yes.
so if you buy one game every 6 months, that's your game, and you really invest mentally in every part of it and all of the artistry of it. Whereas I'd be interested to know the breakdown of how people, especially smaller developers, find people interacting with their games on Game Pass who've just been I'll download it and play 5 minutes and whatever. I don't really have to, a lot of games they have a bit of a learning curve or a tutorial or a bit to wade through at the beginning versus the time investment that people make if they're no, this cost me $40. I've got to really go in.
I know that my attitude to games that I bought when I was younger and had fuck all money was completely different to my attitude now, and certainly to the ones on Game Pass. And it's funny because I think, I guess the thing that's most concerning is the fact that, and this is something that the co-founder of Arcane, which was Dishonored and Deathloop and stuff like that.
Yep.
Although I think they have multiple studios now. But the original co-founder of Arcane said that their concern was that Game Pass was unsustainable. Not that it was bad value for consumers now, or, that it was a blight on the industry, or that it was not profitable, but that it was unsustainable. And I think that's kind of the thing we're getting around to is like, well, if people start to value ownership of games more, and realize that there's not a lot of first party, if any first party stuff going to Game Pass, day one releases, is it going to be a good thing if that just that model takes over everything? Like has Netflix been a net positive? That's debatable.
It's tough to say. Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this for years, like that it's a very ahead of the curve move of them, but it's really seeming more and more likely that they just end up becoming a publisher.
Yeah. A publisher and an eShop or like a streaming service.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. It's a weird one. It's got to be it's got to be a bummer if you're sitting there with a Series X, and you have all these franchises that you love. I mean, that's the other thing, like they have a lot of goodwill. They have a lot of, series that people like, but they all end up getting moved around and developed by different people. So it's kind of like a new version of something coming out is like, Donkey Kong Bonanza is being made by the people that worked on Mario Galaxy. There's like such a direct through line.
Yeah.
And the same with like most of the stuff, like Naughty Dog and obviously there's been changes here and there, but by and large, it's not like all of a sudden, Activision are making The Last of Us 3 or whatever.
Right.
Like there's such a clear through line. There's like a real trust that people have. People love the characters and they like the settings and stuff, but it's the teams. It's it's the developers that people are the fans of. It's like how they make games and how they feel, and you can replicate that. But I feel like even when you're a little kid, like you play something that you later find out was made by different people to the original, and you're like, this feels odd. Like something's off about this.
Super Mario 2 is like, everyone was like, this is a fucking weird Mario game.
It's only the second one. What have they done with this?
Yeah. And you're right. And I think that's kind of, what I was saying at the beginning of this discussion is like, what is the identity of Xbox? And if it becomes indecipherable, then people aren't going to choose to identify with that brand.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not the nicest, it's not the most, pure way to look at things, but like people attach their identity and express their identity through the things that they buy and participate in.
Yeah.
And if Xbox doesn't have an identity that you can relate to, then either it has to be by far the most affordable option or the most convenient, or it has to have the best games on it. And I just don't know where they're going.
Unfair or harsh, but every time like we get a comment on the pod about like, oh, you guys just are little babies that just like Nintendo games. You just talk about Nintendo too much. The person I picture writing that comment is always an Xbox bro, which is so funny to think about because it's like, I mean, look, if your options are, their new game costs $10 more than it has in the past, but they're putting out stuff that is really fun to play fairly consistently at the moment for this launch, in this last month and a half, 2 bangers that I've been really excited for. If it's that or just like, sorry, no Donkey Kong because we've fucking laid off the entire team that work on it.
Right.
It's like, I'll just pay $10 more.
Neither
is good. Neither is ideal.
No.
Neither is a thing that I want to happen.
No.
But at the end of the day, like, again, like this people kind of, I think people that like games really, and we're doing it now, you throw stones at whatever company is in the news for their latest trespass or whatever, but it's like, that's the reality is that like for us, the consumer, it's like this fun escapist thing, but for these people making decisions, it's like, it's a corporation.
Yeah.
It's a massive company that's trying to make as much money as possible. And like, sometimes you get lucky and you don't notice that. And like, a game, a platform has like a really good year where some bangers come out. They come out on time. They are within your price range. It all. There's like a year where a lot of good stuff comes out on Game Pass, and they have some first party stuff that maybe you loved Starfield when it came out, and you got it through Game Pass or whatever it is. But then more often than not, you see the cracks and it's like, why have they got to be charging more for this, or why have they got to be shutting this down? And it's like, they've done the numbers and they're not making enough money, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough because it's also, you know, we live in this weird time where this stuff was always going on to some extent behind the scenes, but we didn't have the internet and we didn't have, you know, there wasn't like every fucking little movement of a company this big wasn't reported on. So you would just like read about a game in a magazine that got shown off at E3, you'd see a little grainy screenshot and then, you know, it just never ends up coming out because behind the scenes it's gotten cancelled, but you don't know that at the time. Like,
and for like, you know, most of the 90s through to the mid 2000s, what we thought, you know, a company was its marketing and in terms of games, the games they release.
Right.
You know, it was
that's
like...
a good point. They're really able to dictate what their image is.
And so like that's why you latch onto an Xbox, because of the way that they... I mean, and, you know, also the differences in the hardware and the differences in price and accessibility and things like that. But like... Xbox was what Microsoft wanted you to think Xbox was.
Yeah.
You know, it was for gamers, it was for young dudes, it was fucking cool and green, and it could go on the internet and you could do multiplayer and you'd have your mates around and you'd play, you know, GTA and you'd play fucking Halo and you'd like, that was Xbox. PlayStation had been around before and was like, we're the cool one, we're the edgy one.
Yep.
We're not for kids, you know, we're taking gaming into a mature place.
Yep.
And they also had all these, like you say, sort of first party or like licensed to their platform games that were console sellers, they were system sellers.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo was like, well, for everyone, we're fun, we're a family console.
Yeah.
And that was kind of just like, that's what we had to go on.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of you had to pick a side in the console wars.
Yeah.
Whereas, now it's like, I mean, I guess none of them are great if you look at them as a business. Like, like, you know, Nintendo I think is all right, but you do hear of people working long hours and being, you know, like sort of it being implied that there's a level of dedication.
Well, I guess it's like it's like any Japanese company. Like, I think they're way more tight-lipped about things. So I think there's like probably a similar level of like not ideal stuff behind the scenes, but they're just not out there. They do a better job of it not being, for whatever reason. It's like a very Western thing to have like Matt Booty going on a podcast talking about what, you know, like...
I mean, you have your investigative journalists who are exposing like crunch in Rockstar or the behind the scenes things at CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
But you don't... I guess it seems less accessible for them to go over and... poke around and be like, well, what's happening in the Sony offices? Apart from that giant hack about 20 years ago, we're not really finding out what the Japanese people running Sony are saying about PlayStation. So, I don't know. It's an interesting time. Yeah.
Well, we're about to, I think just after we record this and put it up, there's going to be a Ghost of Yotai State of Play.
Yes.
Excited to see more of that game. Obviously... been on my radar, but I kind of keep forgetting about it because we haven't seen or heard too much about it.
Yeah,
but,
every couple of months, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. There's like a little bit of a trailer or something.
Excited for a bit of a deep dive. I really would rather these State of Plays, directs, whatever, that are just focused on one thing, that you know what you're going in for when you watch it, not just a vague like, hey, 20 minutes of new games. Will there be anything I'm interested in? Who knows?
Yeah.
More often than not, the answer is no. But
well, like there's 3 out of 25 things I'm interested in.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Also next week we'll be talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4.
Yes.
Which I didn't realize until the reviews started dropping that, this remake's developed by different people to the first one.
Yeah. I think, was it Vicarious Visions?
Yeah,
who was 1 and 2?
Don't exist anymore, Yeah.
But I have seen a couple of early reviews that are quite positive on this. And also like...
people are liking it. I think they've changed 4 a little bit, which is upsetting some people, if you can believe that.
Well, okay. But people aren't usually sensitive about their beloved projects being changed.
Yeah.
I did see as well, like, something like only 20% of the original soundtrack is in the new one. But then I think wasn't that also like announced a while ago that like Tony Hawk was going to be picking new tracks for the game, and like they were changing it up.
Possibly, yeah. But again, I kind of get it. I mean, the soundtrack is such a big part of those games, and especially when I guess the hard thing is with the first batch of remakes, they managed to get most of the songs back.
Yeah.
So when you set a precedent like that, and then you drop it so dramatically, of course it sticks out. If the first one had done the same sort of thing, I don't think it'd be as much of an issue. But I think people feel like, well, we know you can.
Yeah.
And it's not like you don't have the budget to acquire these rights.
Yeah. Like, is this is being published by Activision still?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's going to make a lot of money. Like the first one would have made a lot of money. This is going to make a lot of money. So yeah, but that's going to be fun to play.
Yes.
I am about to go to Vietnam, and annoyingly, not long after I get back, there will be released a Nintendo Crocs collaboration.
Oh, yes!
Finally, Animal Crossing Crocs.
Yeah, yeah. Not to play into the stereotype that we only like things for babies and morons, but...
no, I've got no interest in these, but it is funny.
It's so good. I mean,
I like the gibbets more than I like the actual Crocs themselves. The little characters as the little things that you stick into the holes of the Crocs.
Yeah, I was thinking... I mean, my partner still hasn't played Animal Crossing, but I was like, I should get these for her.
Yeah. You gotta introduce her.
I know. She's gotten around. She's excited for Donkey Kong. Man, when I told her about the Pauline being the second player,
the 2-player,
it's like, oh fuck yeah, because we've just been like doing a lot of Mario Kart World.
Yep.
Which I've seen still people being like, and other podcasts and reviewers and stuff being like a bit dark on the launch lineup, or at least on the idea of Mario Kart World being like a system seller or a great launch game. It's like, I mean, we've played like 40 hours of this.
Yeah.
One of us usually doesn't play video games. Yeah. Like this is the thing for families, and it's going to be the thing that I think more so than like Breath of the Wild. If you're like a mum and a dad, or a dad and a dad, or a mum and a mum.
Oh, yep.
Or
that's
a
all your bases.
Dad, mum.
Yeah. Got to do them all. Yeah.
Yep. If you're walking into the shops and your kid's like, hey, can we get it switched to? And the big advertising, pitch is, well, Mario Kart's on it. It's a brand new Mario Kart. You can all play Mario Kart. It's the best one. Brand new Mario Kart. It's like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, the last one's like one of the highest selling games of all time. I've seen so many previews of Donkey Kong Bonanza saying like, why wasn't this the launch game? And it's like, it's been out for a month. Yeah. Like it is a launch game.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, like I said, it's like one of them's a 3D platformer. The other one is one of the most popular games of all time.
Yeah.
But Animal Crossing Crocs, fucking awesome.
Animal Crossing Crocs.
Do you think it's a precursor to announcing a new Animal Crossing game?
Yeah, interesting.
Because Donkey Kong theme park came first. Donkey Kong game.
True. Yeah, I guess...
New Leaf was during COVID.
New Leaf came out very start of COVID, so 2020.
Yeah.
So that was like 3 years after the console had come out.
Right.
But obviously...
Been a long time.
But mega hit.
Yeah.
So it would stand to reason that they would want to get the next one out.
And the previous one quickly. was there a Wii U one, or was it Wii? Or was it like 3DS even?
That's a good question. It might have been 3DS. I don't know if there was a Wii one. There was some like... They do these like spin-off, like Home Designer, and like... I think there was like a board game like Animal Crossing on the Wii U that was apparently not very good. But I don't know if there was like a proper... dedicated entry. I think it might have been the 3DS one.
Yeah,
which would have been quite a few years before.
It looks like 3DS was New Leaf actually. New Horizons was Switch. Pocket Camp was a mobile game they released.
Yep.
Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival was released for the Wii U.
Yep.
Why can't I find just a list of all the games that came out?
Because you're a fucking dumbass.
Oh, here we go. That was it. City Folk was 2008, Wild World 2005, and the original was 01.
Sure.
And we covered all the rest. So there was a 5-year gap. Well, there was an 8-year gap between New Leaf and New Horizons.
Sure, yeah.
But there was a bunch of, there was a couple of those other versions in the
that's a really good example of one where I'd be really interested to see what they would do for a new one, given that the previous one is readily playable on the Switch 2 with backwards compatibility.
Yeah,
and it's not true. Like, you know, you could say that about a lot of games, but they add new levels and stuff. There's kind of like, you know, beyond it just being new stuff for the house. Like format-wise, I'd be interested to see what they could do to kind of shake it up and really get people excited about make a new one feel kind of essential.
I mean, the maybe too obvious answer would be, well, you're actually building and maintaining and upgrading a city.
Yeah.
You know, expand the scope.
Yeah,
you don't just have your own little home, you have a fucking mansion of your own, or you can build shops, you can build, like, you know, more things are customizable.
Yeah.
And the scope is larger, which would make sense. You know, Switch 2 is much more powerful.
Yeah.
So it can handle rendering and having so much more stuff in real time.
Yeah, the game chat, actually being able to do the voice chat stuff while you're running around in someone else's city would be a lot of fun.
I mean, introducing things like, you can ride around in a little car together, go on a little tour, like...
Yeah, using the little camera in some way. Yeah. Like if you could take a photo of yourself and then make a framed picture of that to have in their house, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
People were doing sort of versions of that with the like little canvas thing that you could make and sharing QR codes and stuff. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, that would be a funny way of soft launching the new Animal Crossing by revealing a pair of Crocs. But yeah, can't say I'll be going in on these. Okay. Maybe a gibbet or two if they're selling them separately.
Yeah.
But
I'm cancelling my order for your birthday.
They do actually come out like the day before my birthday, which is bizarre. All right, yeah. What else have we got? What else have we got on the docket? Oh, there's they're chucking in a chronological mode. Yeah. Two pieces of Last of Us news. Druckmann, Dirty Druckmann.
Yeah, Cuckman himself.
Yeah, he took to the old text block Instagram post. To announce that he's stepping away from the Last of Us TV show.
Yeah, and also I think it's the other person who also works at Naughty Dog, Haley Gross or something. It was he was obviously the bigger news, being the co-executive producer and everything. But I think it was both of them stepping away from the show to work on Intergalactic and other projects. Obviously, Last of Us 3 is heavily rumored to be on the go. But this was I considered maybe do we ask Greg what he thinks about this?
Oh yeah,
do an emergency video drone. But yeah, it's weird. It's just certainly weird.
There's a lot of stuff about it that is strange. To me, he seemed so all in on making TV. He directed a bunch of episodes. Like I kind of, if anything, thought it was maybe going to go the other direction. Yeah. Where he would go like, hey, I'm leaving Naughty Dog. Or you would start to hear, bits of scuttlebutt from people that are in there that are like, this cunt is never around anymore. He's just working on Mr. Hollywood, working on the TV show. We're here kind of keeping the IP in the air, working on new things. And
you hear like someone else has to step in to be like game director, and
he's still getting credit, but he's really not around all that much. It's like kind of a common thing that you hear when people start splitting their time or sort of moving into sort of an adjacent industry. That side of it is weird. Him being like, oh yeah, I've got this game to work on. It's like, none of that's a surprise. Yeah. The timing of announcing it like now, a couple of months like after the series has ended, is kind of strange. I don't know why this seems to have sort of happened suddenly, and like him going, well, and the other big thing which we were talking about a lot when we were talking about season 2 of The Last of Us was him saying, I'm going to bow out of the TV show now before any meaningful work really begins on season 3. Right. So it's like, what? Season 2 has been in the can for probably a little while now. They were filming it ages ago. Yeah. And again, we talked a lot. If we're not going to spoil anything about season 2, but if you didn't listen to our recap pod, which you can find in this feed from a couple of months ago, the season ending on this kind of halfway through the events of the second game, essentially, and it's going to be at least 2 years until we see anything of season 3. I would think him saying that they haven't really begun serious pre-production on it yet, that even longer than that. Which is so I don't know. frustrating / I just don't see myself still caring about a fucking Last of Us TV show in 3 years' time.
Yeah, man. I mean, we'll talk about this on the bonus episode. We both watched the rest of Squid Game.
Yep.
And that was only 6 months.
Yeah.
Or that was enough of a thing to really like change the way I was approaching the show. I'd forgotten so many things.
Like, and even just really culturally, the way this is the thing is that like, you know, it feels like people now feel like they've got a hit, and obviously creativity takes as long as it takes. So of course, however long it takes to make the thing good, I'm on board with that. But people move on. Yeah. It's not a given that, and you sort of noticed it with like this rolling out of quote unquote season 3. It's season 2.5. Yeah. Let's be realistic. Yeah. But of Squid Game, where people just aren't there for it anymore. No. Like you just can't do that you can't have that like cultural critical mass every time unless the quality has to remain crazy fucking high. Yeah, you create so much pressure for yourself to just have. Yeah. Like Breaking Bad was able to do it. Yep. And people were still on board for it. Game of Thrones tried to do it, and I think it bit them in the ass. Yeah. Sopranos, I think, maybe was like the first one to ever do it. They split up the 6th season. Yeah. And again, like, yeah, it's like, well, if the thing that you're making is the best thing that's ever been made in that category of thing, okay, you get that grace. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've still been like, you know, like seeing people and being like, hey, did you watch Squid Game? And they're like, yeah, I watched it. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? You know, there's still but yes, in terms of like this big cultural sort of wave of discussion, it's not the biggest thing in the world, which it was when the first season came out. And I mean, look, I think that it's bigger than COVID. Yes. That's how big it was. Yeah. It's bigger than COVID and Animal Crossing combined. Yeah. That's a good bonus episode. The best of COVID. The best big cultural things that came out during COVID. I mean, I don't know. Animal Crossing, Squid Game, Tiger, WAP, Tiger King, Borat 2. I don't know if people are ready for that. Yeah, that might be something we wait another 5 years for. The Masked Pegger. Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, I think that. Yeah, you know, I do think that I enjoy the games that Druckmann makes more than the TV he directs. So yes, well, that was something else that came out around this same time, past week or so, was someone leaking or whatever in a interview or somewhere, being like, yeah, apparently Pedro Pascal, like on the set when Druckmann was like directing or you know whatever in a meeting or whatever, was like, do you like art? Oh, yeah, that's right. Which to me, like, it's fucking, it's a shame that's not like a leaked spray from on the set. Yeah. Like Christian Bale going off on the set of Terminator. Do you like art? Which, like, it's not a good idea to take a fucking thread and turn it into a tapestry, but, like, maybe he wasn't good at directing TV. Maybe Druckmann wasn't. Yeah, I mean, maybe he wasn't in the right industry. It's easy to kind of go like, yeah, he's, you know, what a gun. Like but, you know, so much of that is obviously there's an entire team around you that is, you know, doing consistently good work across all the episodes, and you're drawing from this thing that you've already created. Yeah. That is, I don't know. I'd love to know the full story here, because I don't think it's quite as simple as just going like, oh, you know. Yeah. The gentleman's firing almost, or the, you know. I mean, fully tapping out when it's like, it's true that he's got these, you know, he's got this next game to work on, and it's not a thing that you can do, you know, at the same time. But even to not be working on it in a pre-production, even if it was like, well, I won't direct episodes. I'll do the development. I'll be a bit less involved in that, but I'll be involved in that, and then I'll step out to focus on the game. Yeah. It's weird because I just double-checked, and I never listened to this, but the official podcast, the official Last of Us, was Mazen, Druckmann, and I think Troy Baker was like the sort of host. Oh, yep. I wonder what the discussions are like on that podcast throughout that season.
if he's projecting into the next, like, just how weird it would be to listen to it now, knowing like he's going to quit the show.
Yeah, I wonder if anything will come out about this, but yeah.
Because it is like, and we don't necessarily deserve to know the truth. Where, if the truth is...
I think we do.
It's in the public interest.
Yeah.
It's Watergate. We got to get into Naughty Dog offices.
Hey, I get badgered enough about things that are private that have affected a piece of content that people consume. So now is my time to be tweeting at Neil Druckmann.
Yeah. You've learned nothing from your experiences, have you?
No, it seems fun to be on the other side. I want to do that.
But the truth is, he may not have been very good at it. It may have required a lot of other people to step up and assist him, even if, it turns out good.
Maybe
the best thing is that he does just go back to the thing that he's proven to be really good at, which is making games. I have to imagine
it's kind of annoying to have a guy come in when you have done this for your whole career is in film and television, and you have a guy come in who sort of leapfrogged all of that because he's set up some shots in a video game engine, like thinking that he knows fully how to direct TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's like versions of it with like actors, turning to directors, but they've still been on sets. Yeah. They've still gotten all of it. So
they haven't had the luxury of a virtual camera you can put anywhere.
Yes.
Lighting that you don't have to film at a certain time of day. You can just move the sun in the game engine. Like, there is. And I mean,
fuck, wouldn't it be amazing if that's what it is? He's just there being like, let's just move it over there. Yeah. And they're like, that takes 7 hours to rig up. What?
Yeah.
You're fired.
Sir, the sun, it moves separate. Like, we can't control where the sun goes.
Just upgrade the software then.
This fucking guy. So who knows? Maybe there is more to it. Maybe he wants to focus on the next game, which potentially is, it could be opening the next chapter of that entire development company.
But then, they also, this week, Naughty Dog announced a chronological mode for Last of Us 2, which seems like a strange addition.
Yeah.
I mean, once you've completed the game, you can kind of do that if you want. Like, you can just choose which bits to play. It seems like a weird thing to formalize. I don't know.
And so, yes, if you haven't played the game and didn't watch the show, or you only watch the show, we won't spoil anything. But it's told in a semi non-chronological way. And they've pieced it back together. I mean, I guess they've spoiled it by releasing a chronological mode that it's not originally in chronological order.
True.
But, I mean, this is like people used to do it with Memento.
Yeah.
Which it's like...
Make fan edits and stuff.
Yeah, it's like told half in backwards, half in black and white and all of that shit, and they've edited it together in chronological order. I don't know who this is for.
Yeah, because I think, like, if you've played that game and liked it, it's the structure that's good.
Yeah. I don't know. But this is almost like becoming their version of Skyrim, where they just like, well, we have to release a version or a mode every year.
Is it for people to be able to like play half the game who've only watched the show and not have the show spoiled?
Oh, maybe. No, because they've already put stuff from the end of the game into the show, and then if you played the first half of the game...
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. You're right, it's the opposite. Yeah. It's kind of the other way. Yeah.
The game does, as much as they did change stuff to adapt it, it is the same structure, basically.
Yeah, no, totally.
So, it would spoil the show.
Weird. Well, you and I have been playing a game this week, a new to console release, but I think it's been out on PC for a little bit. It's called Angerfoot.
Yeah.
This is a first-person shooter set in a very like
a cartoon world,
neon-coloured town called Shit City.
Oh, so good.
I love the setup of this. It's got a great visual style. It's kind of like...
it's like Battletoads meets like
it's a little Rick and Morty in its character design, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of basically crime is legal.
Yes.
You have to be committing crime. So there's like bits where there's like a cop knocking on someone's door being like, it sounds like there's no crimes being committed in there. It's like everyone is in a gang. There's this great sort of intro setup.
It's very cinematic for it being like just literally static cartoons. Like, I really, really liked it. And I think cool. The music hugely, like, it's a lot is resting on the music and the propulsion of that in the gameplay, but also that setup. And the
you're like the
good.
one guy in the town who isn't affiliated with a gang.
Yes.
You're a sneaker collector. There's a pretty cool like little tutorial thing where you go in and you get this like final pair of sneakers to complete your collection. And then one of the gangs kind of steals your entire like wall of sneakers that you've collected. And then you have to go rampaging around the city and killing these gangs to get your prized sneakers back. So it's very like, how would you describe it? It's like very level based and very like you die quite easily. Like you don't, you really have, your health regenerates, but it's basically if you take 2 shots, you'll be dead.
Or like one punch, basically, I think. Very similar to Ghost Runner. I think it was you get hit once in Ghost Runner and your run's done. And it's similar in the way that it is you're propelling yourself through in Angerfoot it is like corridors and rooms and like apartment buildings and stairwells and stuff,
and basically having to learn the layout of them because you might come into like a long corridor and you've taken everyone out and then you get shot in the back because there's a guy like hiding in a little crevice behind a wall. So it's very like you're immediately back in, and each level is like quite short overall, like quite short and quite narrow little environments. And you've got on the left trigger, you start off with just a kick. And boy, that feels good.
It's so
like
good.
You're entering rooms by just kicking the door down. And if
there's like someone standing behind the door on the other side of the room, the door crushes
them. They get obliterated. And
and
again, that's part of like learning the level is you might know like, oh, that guy behind the door, he's like slightly off to the right. So I've just got to make sure when I'm kind of lining up the kick, if I do it properly, I can take him out. You've got, in some levels you start with a gun, in others you don't, but you basically have like finite ammo. When you're out, you can chuck the gun and then everyone that you kill drops their gun, so that's kind of how you
keep reloading.
Keep reloading. So combination of having to like really keep an eye on and manage how much ammo you have. So if you run out of ammo, you do have the option of sort of just kicking people to death. But that obviously requires a lot more dexterity and ducking and weaving.
Because you really do. Like it's not that easy to just dodge the shots when people are shooting at you. It's very much like it's a bit of neon white. You get timed every time as well. So
and each level has like kind of 3 stars that you can get for like one for finishing it, one for like it'll give you an objective like finish in this amount of time or only do headshots or only use kicks. It's cool. It's fun. It's not like I'm terrible at first-person shooters. So I'm dying a lot.
Okay. So am I. It's not easy by any means.
But it is still... It's fairly forgiving. Like, I mean, it's got that thing where you can take a bit of damage and then sort of like retreat and hide behind a wall. It's more like... just getting taken out because you didn't know that a guy was going to come from around that corner or whatever. You go into a big opening and there's like... a door on either side and you're having to which you don't know which is the way to go forward, and you might like there's lots of satisfying stuff where like you kick in a door and there's a guy on the toilet and you just like fucking obliterate him with the door.
I love it. Is now that you mention Rick and Morty, it's kind of that high on life character design, very vibrant, very bright, and it has kind of like a real sense of humor that isn't like just cringe-worthy. It's genuinely pretty funny. The violence gang is the main gang you're initially after.
Very like 90s era of like all of a sudden after the success of The Simpsons, like every network having an adult animated show. Cartoons aren't just for kids anymore. I know that makes it sound cringe, but it's like it's endearing, like it's fun. It's like you being this guy who's just in this town of pure crime. It's like kind of it's almost like a sort of comedy cyberpunk, cartoon comedy cyberpunk kind of thing. Very neon, very like the houses that you go into are all very funnily decorated, where there's just shit everywhere and pizza boxes and toilets in the middle of the room.
But I think the main thing is it feels good. It feels good to run around. It's very fast, very rapid. The camera moves very quickly when
very
you're
responsive.
Changing. But then that fucking kick. Oh my god, it's
different
so good.
And scaling up and like. the types of enemies that you come across, they all look the same, but then there's like different types. So you get into a new area, you're like, oh, these guys have little Uzis. It's really fun. It's worth checking out. Yeah, PC, PlayStation. I assume Xbox. Yeah, if it's on PlayStation. I don't know about Switch just yet. I'd imagine this will get announced at some point for the Switch too. But runs beautifully, really smooth. I also want to give a shout out to the good people at PlayStation AU. Oh yeah, sent me a little Death Stranding care package. Oh, with a little T-shirt and cap, a little Higgs guitar keychain. Oh shit. And for me / us, they sent two different types of pairs of their Pulse headphones. Like over-ear ones and then the in-ear ones. And they're really good. They're really good quality. Yeah, nice. I prefer, Lauren, to be hearing the embarrassing shit that I'm playing at full volume in the living room. Yeah, me too. I'll put the headphones on Bridget. Yeah. so only she can hear it. She can't hear me screaming the slurs. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Piece of kit. They're really easy to connect and set up. Really seamless. You chuck them on, power them up. They pair instantly with the PlayStation. And they feel really good. The little like cupping over the ears is really nice. Ooh, nice. Really I love an ear cup. Solid stuff.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. Also, just want to go back over Angerfoot a little bit. Yeah. So it's Devolver Digital published, which just, anyone who likes their stuff, they have a pretty reliable seal of approval almost. Yep. It is on PS5 and Windows and Mac. So it's not on Switch, and I don't think he's on Xbox either. Yep. But fucking good game. Give it a shot.
Small team, I think. Like it feels like it's a good it's a really solid indie game.
Yeah. Free Lives are the developers. Yeah. They made Broforce.
Oh right, okay.
And Gorn. They're South African.
They're South African.
Yeah, they're from South Africa. And that's all we need to say about South Africa.
Well, check that game out. Big recommend from both of us. Yeah. That is going to do us for this week. We'll be back next week with, some Ghost of Yo, Ty.
Yes, some Tony Hawk, 3+4.
And whatever the fuck else has gone on.
Send us some more feedback about how we're old men. Yep. We love that stuff.
See you next time. And as we say here at the end of every episode of Filthy Casuals, fuck. I was going to do something in a South African accent and I just couldn't conjure a phrase.
Oh, you fucking prawn.
Generative AI. Fuck.